All right, guys, it's time for lesson number 2. This is going to be a fast one. Once again, pause so you could write your stuff down and then listen to the explanations as we get going here. All right, here's your table of contents. So we are going to add in this piece right here. We're going to be adding notes onto page 9. All right, go ahead and pause. You need to add in parallel lines. Parallel lines, they have the same slope as you can see over here. They're lines that do not touch. And thus, if you're looking at a system, if you have parallel lines, there are no solutions because they're not intersecting. All right, here's our learning target. You can solve a system of equations using a substitution method. So go ahead and set this up on page 9 so you can set up your Cornell notes. All right, and here's the beginning of your notes pieces. This is step-by-step instructions. Now that you've copied this all down, right here, this piece, after you get all your stuff today, you can always go to this part of your ebook. They do a really good job. I strongly encourage you to go read this. It might help clear up what I'm talking about. I'm going to show this to you in Zoom also, but sometimes it's just another way of seeing something and it makes a lot more sense. So I would strongly encourage you to go look at this after you've seen a lesson from me. It could help you dramatically. Okay, so I have followed all the step-by-steps and done the first problem. So you can see I circled in red the negative x minus 7. It's the same as the y. So I am going to replace that y that's next to the 5. So in that second equation, it says 5 times y. So I did this big purple arrow so you can see over here to the right. This is the next part. Instead of it being 5 times y, it's 5 times that whole other side of the other equation. 5 times negative x minus 7. And I still got to finish out the rest of that equation. Plus 3x equals negative 13. You'll notice I put that negative x minus 7 in red so you can see that's what I plugged into that equation. All right, at this point, I just did the normal solve and equation work. I distributed my 5 through. And then on the second step here, negative 5x and positive 3x adds up to a negative 2x. Then I add 35 to both sides, divide by negative 2, and you get negative 11. All right, that's the x value. But we need to also get y. So I'm going to take that negative 11, and to me, it's easier to plug it into the one part that I circled. So I'm going to plug that negative 11 into the x of the top equation, and that's what I'm doing right here. Let me get my highlighter. So instead of it saying negative x minus 7, it's going to be negative of negative 11 minus 7. And a negative of a negative is a positive, so that's how you get a positive 11. And 11 minus 7 is 4. And now, if the x value is negative 11, your y value is 4. This is the coordinate that these two graphs would cross at. That's where they intersect. Your answer is a point. So I want to go through and do this bottom one for you while we can do it step by step. You can follow me. Okay, so now I can see here that the first equation has x equals 3x minus 1. Or x equals 3y minus 1. So this 3y minus 1 is the exact same as the x. So in my other equation, I'm going to replace the x. So that's an arrow. It's not a very good arrow, but it's an arrow to the x position. So what I'm going to do, let me switch my color pen here, is instead of it saying 4 times x, it's going to be 4 times 3y minus 1. And now I got to write the rest of that equation out. Minus 2y equals 11. So it's the same bottom equation. I just replaced the x with that 3y minus 1. At this point, we're going to use the skills we learned in first semester. We're going to distribute. 12y minus 4. Just write out the rest that I didn't do. Now, the 12y and minus 2y are like terms, so I can combine them. 12 minus 2 is 10. So my left side is getting a little simpler. Add 4 to both sides. And 10y equals 15. All right, I'm going to divide by 10. And that is going to give me 1.5. All right, so now that I've got 1.5 for my y value, and just because it's a decimal, that doesn't make it anything crazy. It's fine. You can use a calculator to help you out if you need to. I'm going to go into that first equation, and instead of it saying 3 times y, it's now going to be 3 times 1.5 minus 1 equals x. 3 times 1.5 is 4.5. 4.5 minus 1 is 3.5. And we get the x value is 3.5, the y value is 1.5. That's the answer as a point. Put the x in the first spot, the y in the second. So I'm going to go ahead and write that off to the side. X is always first in the point. Y is always second, alphabetical order. It's okay to get decimals. I'll be honest with you, we don't give you decimals a bunch, but I wanted you to see a decimal answer because that's important. Now, what you can do is always check your work, because sometimes we're going to ask you to do things with substitution. You can always go into Desmos and graph both of these and see where they cross. It should be crossing at the exact same point that you just got here. It's an easy way to check your work. So sometimes we've got to do things algebraically, and you can use the Desmos to make sure your work was good. All right, at the bottom of your page, make sure you do a little summary. Today we just talked about substitution method. We use substitution method whenever one of the equations has either as y equals or x equals. Graphing method and equal values method, that's what we talked about last class. So I'll let you go back in your notes and figure out, tell me what's the best time to use those. All right, and if you have questions about this, you can ask me in class and I'll be happy to clear it up there. But I want you to do your thinking first and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, well done. So to close it off, there is your homework for this, or your assignments. It's only 2. 2 problems from the ebook and 1 PDF. All right, take care. Let's get all that work turned in. I've already gotten a bunch from the first day graded, so you're good to go. Take care.